Your presence is a blessing. It really is. That's been one of my new affirmations recently. There is science behind affirmations and why they work. Because they literally help you reprogram your mind. And as you reprogram your mind, it makes it easier for you to notice in your everyday life when you are essentially self-sabotaging, when you are shrinking yourself for the sake of perceived safety, when you are doing the things that you used to do that it's no longer serving you, basically doing the things that have kept you where you are and where you no longer want to be because you want to level up. I assume, I guess you want to be a better version of yourself, right? And this is an assumption I'm making, but I hope it's a safe assumption, because at least if you found me here, I would assume that's what you're hoping to do, what you're aiming to do, and what you eventually will be all about, if you're not already. And so, being that I've been repeating that to myself, my presence is a blessing, repeating that to myself has caused me to hear it in my mind when I'm doing those things. Like when I start to, in a sense, sabotage myself, like by prematurely removing myself, actually, by shrinking myself, by deciding that I'm not good enough to be in a certain space or around certain people, doing certain things, calling myself something. It's been so interesting. Before I get into that though, I was watching Flashdance with a friend last night, and I realized I've never actually seen that movie, even though it's a very like old school movie. I think it's 1983, so it's like the 80s. And being that it's in the 80s, it's something that when I was growing up was frequently referenced, like before, like pre-memes, it was a meme. And there was always, the scene where this girl was just like almost running in place but dancing to She's a Maniac. And yeah, so that was finally a scene that I actually saw in real time and realized, oh, this is what they were referencing in all the whatever pop culture moments. And anyway, point is, the movie itself highlighted a lot of things for me in my life, because it allowed me to see an analogy and a representation of things that I'm doing to myself. And without spoiling the whole thing, because I don't like movie spoilers, whether it's a movie that's 100 years old and presumably the whole world has seen, I don't care. You figure out the plot for yourself, because if you want it to be spoiled, you ain't gonna get it from me. I'm not a spoiler. So anyway, long story short, and without spoilers, there was something that it's called Flashdance, so obviously this girl's a dancer. So this dancer wanted to be in a certain space, and she didn't come from the experiences that everybody else in that space presumably came from. And so she automatically assumed that she wasn't good enough, and that in turn made her count herself out automatically. There was a moment in the movie where she had to come to terms with the fact that she was stopping herself from achieving her own dream. She was standing in her own way. No one else and nothing else. She was stopping herself. And it just made me realize, like, how many times do I do that? How often is that the case? And if I'm doing that, I'm pretty sure there are a lot of other people that are doing that, because this movie is not just for me. I'm not the only one seeing it. And I've come to realize that we're the only ones that can decide who we are and what we are. We really are. And people can tell you who they think you are, but they're only right if you decide they're right. So if they tell you that you're a teacher, if you don't want to be a teacher, you don't have to be a teacher. So if these people are telling you you're a teacher and you've decided you're not, then you're not. Even if you want to be a teacher. If you want to be a teacher, but you are still deciding that you are not a teacher, you are not a teacher. Ain't that the kicker? Because whatever you say you are, you are. And the real kicker is a lot of us are saying things about ourselves that we don't even know that we're saying about ourselves. You could be saying all you are is a student, you'll never be a teacher. But you're not saying that consciously, you're saying that subconsciously. And because you're saying that subconsciously and not consciously, you don't know that you are saying it. You don't know that your mind is hearing it and thus confirming it. Whatever you say constantly is being affirmed. What's happening is everything around you, your experience, the universe, is confirming what you're affirming to yourself. And bringing that back to my presence is a blessing as an affirmation, I realized when I prematurely decide that I don't fit into a situation or a space like this, so I'm not going to go anymore, I'm not going to show up, or I'm going to turn around like she did in the movie. That's the only spoiler you're getting. When I start to do that, like, because it's my natural reaction, I feel a little, not even a little, it's probably a lot. I feel like almost an urge of, or a surge, a surging urge to stop in my tracks and stay small. Protect myself by not allowing myself to be seen. And then I'll just hear, your presence is a blessing. And some other of the affirmations that I've been, an inspiration for it, right? So this movie is inspired by something. It's definitely an experience. So I say all of that to say that me having this new affirmation, my presence is a blessing, has helped me to notice every time that I didn't believe that, and the actions that proved that I didn't believe that. Affirming to myself out loud, and because I'm writing it, it kind of becomes a subconscious thought. So I start to hear the affirmation in my head, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's true, that's right. If I allow myself to show up in this space is automatically going to be blessed by me. And I have already confirmed this in my own life, in my own experiences, that people enjoy being around my energy. I mean, the right people, of course. There are some people who cannot handle my energy, and that I've also experienced, and I know. But that is a very specific experience. That's not the overall experience. It's not what I usually experience or always experience. That is just a smaller negative experience or an unpleasant experience for me. But fear will make me kind of, what's the word? Not zoom in, but like, I can't think of the word right now, but it would make that experience a bigger deal than it is, right? Because Nobody enjoys being rejected. And so if I'm coming with my full energy just to be told that I'm too much, or some people can't handle it, it's tone it down, such and such. If I have the opportunity to leave that space, then I should. And if I cannot, then I will know for the future this is not a space that can handle my energy. If I need to be within it, I will limit the amount of time that I'm in it, or I just won't bless it with my energy. Because this specific space, situation, group of people, whatever the case is, does not appreciate the blessing that is my energy. So I don't want to say they don't deserve it, but it's like, do I deserve the feeling that comes with being unnecessarily rejected because I bring so much? You know? It's like, it's literally what happens when people have a lot to give and they give too much, and the people on the receiving end of that don't have a container big enough to receive all that you're giving. It's like, whose fault is it really? Whose fault is it really? Like, who has the control in that situation? If your vessel is not big enough to receive all that is being given, aren't you gonna look like, well, why are you giving me so much? Like, it's gonna feel overwhelming. It's gonna feel like too much. It's not gonna necessarily always feel like a blessing. Like, I'm thinking about it as in rain. Say, for instance, California has droughts all the time. They appreciate rain. Well, here on the East Coast, it's literally raining today, and it's like, nobody likes I shouldn't say nobody, but most New Yorkers don't like going out in the rain, and especially when it's cold outside, because one, if it's too cold, that rain will turn into ice, and that is a very dangerous situation. Nobody wants to be driving when rain turns into ice. This is accidents waiting to happen. Also, you're more likely to feel colder. So if it's 50 degrees, which it was, it felt more like 45, 50, 45, 40, because it's colder because of the moisture. You cannot get warm faster because you're too busy trying to get dry. So all of that excess water, that abundance of water, is not necessarily appreciated because the ground doesn't need it. It's not the perfect temperature for that, so it's really not being appreciated. And even I had to realize today, going out in the rain, that this is an abundant day. This is an abundance of water, and water is a blessing. And even though I really don't like the cold, so can you imagine how much I don't like cold, wet weather? I'm freezing. And I was freezing. Well, not freezing, but I was cold pretty much the whole day. Like, my hands were ice. And I'm used to that, but it's just not pleasant. I don't like it. But then I thought about it, and I was like, this is abundance of water. This is a blessing. And I just stayed with that energy. Probably because I was thinking that my presence is a blessing. So I'm sitting here affirming about myself, which is allowing me to perceive things differently overall, And so coming back to being a small vessel, it's unfortunate to say it like that, but the body is a vessel. The body is a container. It contains the soul. And if, for whatever reason, there are people out here that are not connected to their soul, if you're not connected to your soul, you're not going to be a big vessel. You're going to be a small one. You're going to be a small person in general. Like, the way that you carry yourself, you will carry yourself small. You will be more likely to shrink. You'll be more likely to not be seen fully as who you are and how you present yourself. And so if that's the case, if that's how you are, then imagine someone that's totally in touch with their soul, totally in touch as a being in their body, they're gonna make you feel uncomfortable, you know? Like, it's not gonna feel comfortable to be around someone with such vibrant, big, and almost like feeling maybe burdensome energy, because you don't feel that within yourself. So it makes you feel smaller. So back to being like in New York when it's raining. Unlike being in California appreciating the rain, you're in New York and you're not appreciating the rain. It's just, this is too much. It's too much water, too much moisture. I don't need it. I have more than enough in my eyes, right? So, of course, the person who is a smaller vessel is going to feel like, this is too much energy for me. I don't want it. I don't need it. It's too much. Keep it. You know? Can you blame them? Like, can we really blame them? I mean, it's unfortunate, and we can think, you can be better, you can do better, you can expand your vessel, you know? Like, you're not a ceramic bowl that's stuck that way. And even ceramic bowls can be expanded once they're broken. Break a ceramic bowl and, you know, kind of plaster more pieces, then bake it again, you can expand it. You know what I mean? So, like, it's not comfortable being expanded because you literally are being broken as you are first, but it can happen. It does happen. And actually, I've done it. It's happened to me. I wasn't always a big vessel. I mean, I started out as a big vessel. I literally was a giant baby. Almost killed my mom by being birthed. And I was just a big energy from the beginning. And then I noticed that there were a lot of small vessels around me that could not handle my energy, and I shrunk it to suit them. And then I felt uncomfortable because maybe I shrink my vessel, but that doesn't mean what's inside can still handle that, can still fit. My soul was still too big for this body. So I needed to expand myself in order to fit my whole soul. And I don't even think my whole soul is present yet because it's big, you know? It's big. I feel all souls are, but that's an assumption I'm making. So I won't go there if that's not fair to say. That might not actually be true. But I feel that my soul is big. And so I want to assume that everyone else's is too. Anyway, being that I felt the weight of my soul, I realized that I could no longer keep it in this very small vessel. It was just, I was suffocating it, and it was hurting me. It was literally hurting me, suffocating my soul in that way. So kind of just forced me to figure out how to expand myself so that my soul can fit better here, more comfortably here, and do what I desire, it desires, we desire here. Because it's still a process to integrate the soul fully into your body. And I feel like I'm going so metaphysical here, but I can't help it. That's just how I am. That's how I communicate. So it is what it is. If you get it, you get it. If you don't, you don't. I don't know. Ask questions. Do research. Debate if you like. I don't mind. I'm a Gemini in Mars, so you understand what that means. I'm not arguing with you. I'm just talking. I'm just expressing. But I understand that some people believe it's arguing. So anyway, yeah, I feel like it's a big soul. It feels like it needs more space, and more support. And so I do what I can to make it feel at home in this vessel, you know? And part of that is by not hiding. Because, first of all, I'm laughing because I've tried hiding, not my whole life, but for a very long time. And I was never successful. Never. I think, if anything, there were people who knew that I was trying to hide and were doing me the favor by, like, not paying attention to me. Because they could tell that's what I wanted. But it never worked. There was always people who saw me. And being that they were seeing me hiding, they were not seeing me. They were seeing the me that was hiding. And so not the full me, not who I, in essence, really present as. They were seeing parts of me and making assumptions based on that. And I won't say that's dangerous, but what I will say is it's sad. It's sad. Being in a big city allows you overhearing a lot of other people's lives. You can even call it tea. I don't know what you want to call it, but I overheard a situation that made me think a lot. And just because I don't know this person and I don't really care to give details as much as they did, it's not necessary. It's just a story. So, someone was telling their friend about another friend that was comfortable in their life. And being that they were comfortable in their life with the relationship that they had, where they lived, as things were, they did not want anything to change. But they were not moving. And if you understand a relationship that does not move, essentially nobody is going to be happy in it. In this particular situation and relationship, the buddy, the friend of the friend who's telling the story, was lying to themselves and pretending they were happy with the way things were as they were. But the other person, the partner of the buddy's partner, did not like the stagnancy and so gave Buddy an ultimatum. And so because Buddy received an ultimatum, Buddy was like, oh, I better do something quick to not lose this situation, even though I'm not fully happy in here and I'm really just lying to myself. So what did Buddy do? Buddy decided, I will propose. And Buddy proposed. And so Buddy got married. And Buddy remained unhappy. And so because Buddy remained unhappy, Buddy sought escapism or, happiness elsewhere. And Buddy had an affair. And Buddy's affair was found out because sometimes sometimes people are lazy. And I won't even go too far into that because it's not ideal to be so strategic and crafty about having an affair. It's like, why have an affair in the first place? You should just be honest about your situation. And if you want to have multiple partners, have that. If you don't, then leave and find what's better suited to you. But in this situation, Buddy was lazy. And so Buddy had an affair where Buddy was comfortable and where it was easy for everyone to find out that Buddy was having an affair. So Buddy had an affair. Everybody found out, including Buddy's partner. So Buddy's partner confronted Buddy about the affair. And Buddy admitted that Buddy has not been happy in this relationship for a very long time. And rightfully so, Buddy's partner asked, then why did you propose and get married in front of all of our friends and family? Well, I'll skip ahead to the part of the story that I think grabbed my attention. Because the friend of Buddy that was on the train with me and the rest of whoever was on the train in New York City that time and that, I don't know, car or whatever, the friend pointed out that they were on the side of Buddy's partner. And they were hurt that Buddy didn't share as much as they thought them and Buddy were close. Whatever. Not the point. Point is, they realized by hanging out with Buddy's partner after said partner and Buddy broke up that they didn't even know Buddy's partner as well as they thought they knew Buddy's partner. Why? Because Buddy's partner was doing things for the sake of Buddy. So going to events they didn't really enjoy, seeing movies they didn't like, taking part in festivals, events, whatever, that they didn't really enjoy, they had no interest in. But for the sake of Buddy, they did it. And so it gave the impression to their mutual friends that this was something they both enjoyed. So now that Buddy and Buddy's partner are no longer together, the realization comes about that the friends don't know Buddy's partner. And the friends don't know Buddy either. So the friends of Buddy and Buddy's partner don't know them. Because they've been putting on a front, essentially, a mask, in order to please each other, their partners respectfully. And I heard this and I just kind of like laughed to myself because I was thinking, wow, you know, like that is so common. How many times do I hear, you know, people break up and the truth comes out about what they really enjoyed. They did not enjoy whatever they were doing for the sake of the relationship. And it just made me think, like, not only was that a waste of time, but it's like, wow, that is really a form of self-betrayal. Like, Buddy's partner and Buddy big time. Like, Buddy was lying to themselves. But Buddy's partner was out here just smiling and being a good partner for the sake of the relationship that they didn't even know was doomed from the beginning. Like, for this marriage that was doomed from the very start. And it just, I couldn't help but to like wonder, like, wow, how much time and effort and I don't know, like energy would have been preserved, saved, better used elsewhere if Buddy was honest with Buddy and Buddy's partner was honest with Buddy and themselves. Like, just, I don't like this. I don't enjoy this as much as you do. Either they get to know each other better and reconnect, or they realize that they've never really had a strong connection to begin with, so it's time to just let it sever and die. And yeah, sure, Buddy was uncomfortable from the beginning, so that's why Buddy did everything that Buddy did in order to preserve the relationship. But if it wasn't preserved, if it started to fall apart sooner, they would have been, you know, further in their own separate endeavors at this point. And so I say all that to say, not that Buddy and Buddy's partner's relationship was a waste of time. Like, I don't believe that. Every relationship I've been in has taught me something, whether it was years down the line or in that moment. I don't regret any relationship I've ever been in. And that's because I'm able to realize what it's taught me, what it's shown me. And there were times and years where I really believed I wasted my time and I really didn't appreciate the person that I believed I wasted my time on. But now I'm able to think back at this person And, despite the toxicity, appreciate what I learned. Despite the whatever occurred that was not good, pleasant, or safe, I'm able to appreciate what I learned and what it taught me. And what I realized most of all was in a lot of the older relationships, there were repeated patterns on both ends, my part and the partner's part, but the partner wouldn't know because my exes aren't talking to each other. They don't know each other, so why would they think that, oh, I'm doing exactly what your ex did, your ex's ex did, or whatever. They don't know that. I know that. So I know when I look at these past relationships that this person is doing or having the same behavior as my ex and the ex before that. Like, I keep getting in a relationship with the same type of person and it's not successful. So why? What is the pattern that I'm repeating and why? So if I'm continuously finding myself with these types of partners and it's unsuccessful, then there's something that I'm doing or trying to achieve that is not serving me. It's not working for me. So what is it? Why? Am I dating this person because they look like my father, my mother, my big brother that I really want to feel that comfort of relationship with? Is it a familiarity that I'm seeking, that I'm going after this type of person that's obviously not good for me because it's just a repeat of the same thing that just wasn't working? So it's that type of thing. When I was able to, I want to say, have a more successful relationship, I realized that who I was with was not like these other people in almost no ways. Almost no ways. Very small ways. So it's not things I would notice or things that I would really point out and appreciate and like and say, oh, I love this because this is just this is the type that I like, or whatever. It wasn't, So does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. Whatever. Point is, I broke the pattern. And I'm not gonna take full credit for that because, you know what? I will take credit for that. I will take credit for that. I decided to break the pattern. But it was half conscious. So I'm taking half credit because I know where I was conscious and where I was unconscious. I was conscious that there was a trait that was a no-brainer. It's no longer negotiable for me. This person needs to be 100% honest. I don't care how honest. And then the uncomfort came. So when things got hard, it was this person's not right for me. This person's not right for me. And you want to kind of push the discomfort to get back to comfort. But what really is happening is a form of self-sabotage, because comfort equals safety in our minds and discomfort equals unsafety, when it's really just change and evolution. In order to change, or in order to progress, you have to evolve, which involves change. That's the only way. So to grow, things have to change. You have to change. Your behaviors have to change. The way you say things has to change. Your mindset has to change. And that's not comfortable. Again, back to the vessel being broken. It's the only way to expand it. So, yeah, I was being broken down. I didn't like that. I didn't like that at all. I didn't take it well. But reflecting back and also realizing that I had gone through the same pattern so much that I was tired of repeating it. So there were moments and times where it just came down to, okay, am I willing to deal with discomfort and change, or comfort and the same that I know I'm not happy with and I don't deserve because I'm better than this? So that's what it came down to, and that's why I was able to break that pattern, because I was sick and tired of dealing with the same bullshit. Okay? So I thought about that when I heard the story of the person on the train's buddy and their partner. And I just wondered, in what ways could they have been honest with themselves to have had a different outcome in this situation? Hopefully, buddy will be able to reflect on this and learn that it's better to be honest with ourselves so that we can be honest with our partners. And hopefully buddy's partner can learn that too, because even though buddy was the one having an affair, both of them were lying to each other. Buddy lied and had an affair, but buddy's partner was lying to buddy and lying to themselves in a way too. Because if you are in a relationship where you know that you're doing things for the sake of your partner, then there is a part of you that knows that if you don't do this thing, this relationship might not work out. And so if that's the reality, why continue the facade? If you know that what you're doing is probably the only thing that's saving your relationship, and you don't even like doing it, there is self-betrayal happening here, which is lying. Like, at its core, that's lying. So why do you believe that you have to preserve this relationship by lying to yourself or by betraying yourself? Why? Do you believe that you cannot have a successful relationship? Or do you believe that this is the best that you're gonna get? Do you believe that you are too old to find what you're looking for? You know, like, there are things that you believe about yourself that is causing you to remain stagnant in this not progressing relationship, as you lie to yourself because buddy proposed, believing that it's progressing and going somewhere, you know? So it's both of their faults that the relationship didn't work, in my opinion. And I can only say that now as someone who's been cheated on multiple times. I know what it feels like to blame the other person and years down the line realize why it happened. And that is not saying that a cheater has a right to cheat. That is saying that a cheater cheats for a reason. And even if the reason is that a cheater is a cheater and the reason is not you, you still chose to be with the cheater. So there is still something about you that is drawn to that kind of person. And chances are, if you've been cheated on once, you've been cheated on more than once. You know, like, I don't think people, at least I have not seen it where I don't know anybody who's been cheated on once. Not really, no, not really. Physically maybe, but like there's emotional affairs that happen too. So like, you know, like, if there is a bit of dishonesty happening in the relationship, something's going on both sides. Because why is it that your partner does not feel comfortable telling you the truth? You know? if they are cheating, there's something they're not getting and they want that you're not giving them. So why aren't you giving it to them? Is it because you don't want to? Like, you don't feel like it's beneficial to you to give it? You don't feel like it's beneficial to them to receive it? You don't think it's serious? You don't think it's worth it? Like, there's something you believe that is stopping you from giving your partner what they want. And even if it is that the partner has never expressed what they wanted to you, why? Why don't they feel safe to tell you what they want? You know? Is it that they have told you what they wanted, but you just didn't understand it? Or you blew it off and made them feel like it's not worth expressing again in another way? Or, you know? There's always something that can be adjusted, even if it's a little bit. Even if the fault of the relationship not working is like 95% them, there's still 5% you. And if you want a successful relationship, like, they're 95%, that's on them. But you have 5% that you need to work on. So before you, or even if you do get into another relationship, you should work on that 5%, because that 5% is probably going to evenly in that next relationship. I'm trying very hard not to. Okay, anyway, that just made me think about, self-betrayal and what we go through in relationships, and not just romantic ones, all relationships. The parts of ourselves that we lie to and about in order to preserve the relationship, believing that it needs to be preserved. And some relationships just don't need to be preserved. Some relationships have run their course. Sometimes you don't need to remain that person's friend. Sometimes that family member doesn't need to see you anymore. They don't need to have access to you and your energy, because your presence is a blessing. And if they cannot see it as such, they don't need it. I almost want to say they don't deserve it, but is it that they don't deserve it, or is it that there's something, someone, an energy that is better suited to them, and you're just deserving yourself and them by over providing something they don't need? Like, if you are too intellectual, they don't need to be hearing from you, because they don't understand what the hell you're saying. So you're just confusing them and probably making them feel really stupid. And I'm not saying that's your fault, because maybe that's an insecurity that they have. And if they were willing to learn, they would ask you what it is you're saying and try to understand it. But that's not their interest. So you're just talking to a wall, and they're just not appreciating the words that are coming out of your mouth. And you're both trying to preserve a dead relationship, essentially. Like, it's just a matter of time before one of the two of you realizes that there's nothing worth holding on to here, So, that being the case, why not take your presence elsewhere, where it will be perceived as the blessing that it is? And that is the blessing of realizing the expensiveness, the exclusivity of your energy. Like, your energy should not be easily accessed to everyone. It's not for everyone. So, learning boundaries is literally understanding with who, what, where, what situation deserves or is asking for how much of your energy.